Covering news that matters. Fox 23 News at 6:30 starts right now.
Thanks for joining me at 6:30. I'm Rick Maranon. Tonight I'm speaking in depth with Tulsa Mayor Monroe Nichols, who just completed his first 100 days in office. We touched on a lot of things, from housing and homelessness to immigration and tribal relations. We didn't want to break them down into sound bites. You're going to hear our full conversation. Now that you're here, is it everything you thought it would be?
And more. And more. It's been great so far.
What's the biggest surprise?
I think the biggest surprise has been, I actually had a lot of anxiety when I got elected. I spent a year talking about things that needed to improve, and then I get here and I had some anxiety on how, my relationship with everybody, the 3,500 employees, after you spend a lot of time kind of, saying, oh, we need to improve in all these areas. I was pleasantly surprised, and I've been just completely humbled by how everybody around here's come together, how they've treated me, how they've treated the folks who've come into the mayor's office, and how they've been ready to work to begin to, address the issues that we talked about during the campaign. I came to find out that there's nobody who wants to end homelessness, improve student outcomes, expand our economy, make this the safest big city in the country, and work better with tribes than the 3,500 people here. And so it's been the most pleasant of all surprises to be here to work with the folks who are here at City Hall. In my last interview with G.T. Bynum, he said as mayor, he would go to the grocery store or things, and he would just always look around and see a problem that needs fixing. Has your life changed that way? Where you like, oh, gosh, there's a bump in the road. Oh, crap, that's my problem now. You definitely see the world a little bit differently now. I can tell you, back in the day when I knew, snow was coming in, didn't think about it, didn't worry about it as much anymore. Now it's like, oh my goodness, do we have shelter space? Are we ready to clean the roads? And I think we've been, we fared pretty well with the weather. So you do see the world slightly differently as mayor. You are thinking about things that need to be fixed and addressed. But the cool thing is you got people up here who get it done really quickly. So that's been it's just been a lot of fun so far. Your big issues right off the bat have been housing, homelessness, and I find it fascinating because they are two completely separate issues, but they're so intertwined with each other as well. How complicated and complex is this issue, especially for this city? It's complicated for sure, but there are approaches, right? Yesterday we talked about pathway forward on homelessness, everything from how we are establishing our decommissioning team, how we're thinking about shelter capacity, particularly when there's winter weather, but across the board, and really thinking about how we're leaning and weaving partners together to get better outcomes in that front. That matched with our housing acceleration team and our commitment to speed up the permitting process, but also do a much better job planning. So we have some real measurable goals, and I think that's the first start. The first start is we're ending homelessness by 2030. So we know a number we have to hit. The first start is 6,000 affordable units in 4 years. And everything we do is in service of meeting those goals. That makes the activity work out pretty clean, because now we're seeing what's working, what's not working, and I think we're doing a good job so far. Is there going to be a little bit of a gap here where obviously you have to build some things and get things? Is there going to be a little bit of a gap where maybe by December we start seeing some people moving into places? I think you'll start to see it before that. We actually are getting our encampment decommissioning program started now, actually, and we won't be able to decommission as many as we would like to at one time. But we're going to start that work right now. Our thought is that we can't just wait until we have a new facility. Let's see where we have space. Let's go start making that stuff work, and then figure out what's working best. So then we do get, more capacity from a space standpoint. Our practices will be tight, and so yes, you'll definitely see a dramatic shift, as we go throughout the year. But a lot of that's going to be pretty immediate, and I think we're starting to see some immediate impact downtown. We expanded our alternative response teams. We expanded our police presence. We're doing a great job with outreach workers. We still got a long way to go, but we're not planning, and then going to do something in the future. We're doing while we're planning, and we're getting better outcomes every single day. We're seeing DOGE cuts on the federal government. I know this city relies on grants and things like that. Have you seen any impacts to your operations because of DOGE, even just rumors of cuts? I think the big thing right now, particularly in this conversation around housing and homelessness, are some of the housing vouchers that are paused or on the chopping block to be cut. But what we're thinking about is that's going to be a challenge. How do we mitigate that challenge here locally? We certainly want to work with the federal government. We certainly want to work with the state government. But if they choose not to invest, we know we got to find other ways of doing it. So we really talked about how do we come together as a community to meet the need that we have here in Tulsa? And that's been those of us at the city. The county has a big role to play there. Our nonprofit community has a big role to play. Our philanthropic community has a big role to play. But we have to be really tight and crisp on the things we need to invest in to get people onto a better life. And so, yes, we're concerned about a lot of that. But even if those cuts happen, we still got our work to do here in Tulsa, and we're really focused on that.
I've got to ask, because it is the hot topic, what directives have you given to Tulsa Police about any involvement with immigration and customs enforcement? We know state agencies are now starting to work with ICE. Is that anything TPD even has a hand in?
No, not at all. You know, we continue to be focused on improving safety, making sure that when bad guys commit crime, we address that issue, making sure our neighborhoods are safe and those types of things. Our position on what we're doing from an immigration enforcement standpoint has not changed. Look, the Tulsa Police Department has a 100% solve rate right now. That's because we have trust in communities all across this city. We don't want to do anything to undermine that. Undermining that trust means it's going to undermine our ability to keep communities safe. So this is less about a political immigration argument. This is all about what's going to enable us to make sure, as I said before, this is the safest big city in the country, and that has not changed, and that will not change.
One of your big achievements that you've listed is tribal relations.
Yeah.
You saw the fighting between Governor Stitt and the tribes at the Capitol.
Yeah.
What are we going to see here locally? I mean, I don't think you can compact with them,
Yeah.
but obviously...
We're already starting to see it, actually. So, you know, big issue just recently was opinion on the Nick O'Brien case. Referred it back to us that we had joint jurisdiction with our tribal partners, and what we felt like is we want to make sure we're standing solidly for sovereignty, and you can't just do it when it's convenient. And so we worked with the AG's office and the Creek Nation. We dismissed those charges against Nick O'Brien. Nick O'Brien's getting ready to get prosecuted in Creek Court. And so we think that we can solve a lot of this with better coordination. That's the best way to make sure that we not only are keeping this community safe, but those who violate the law are held accountable in whatever court is most appropriate. And so the difference is, if we continue to fight, that means that this individual case would have gone to the Supreme Court. We're waiting for them to make a decision if they're going to hear it or not. Instead, this person who violated the law is now being prosecuted in tribal court, and I think that's a much better solution to making sure we're addressing public safety here. We have a meeting later on this month, our second meeting with all the tribal leaders, but we're in constant communication on that issue, but also on the other end, issues around how do we meet the needs around housing, homelessness, how do we meet the needs around expanding our local economy. So we're not just having conversations about public safety, we're also having conversations about how we best educate kids, how we best do economic development, how we best get over some of the challenges we have here. So it's been a great relationship. It's going to just continue to get better. We'll formalize some of these things, but right now it's about having high coordination in everything that we do, and that's been a pleasure. Second Chief Dale Beaver was here yesterday, and we had the homelessness executive order signed. We're all coming together to solve problems. We're going to try not to create too many more.
I was going to say, I know 100 days, it sounds like a lot, but do you feel like you're just getting started?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've laid a really solid foundation, and that was the goal in the first 100 days, right? To make sure that you've built a staff that is reflective of the priorities, to make sure you're working across departments to meet the needs and the challenges that we have here, so it will enable us to deliver for people across the city. So I think we've gotten it right on the staffing part. We've restructured the reporting structure here to make sure we can meet the needs of people in the community. We're going to, in a few weeks, deliver a budget down to the City Council that definitely includes us having to reduce our spending a little bit, but not at a cost of not being able to deliver on behalf of citizens. I think the first 100 days has been busy, but it's been good work, and I think it's setting us up really for a lot of success here in the future.
Mayor, I'm out of time. Thank you so much.
Great. Good to see you.
Thank you.